Hello, and welcome to Roar's Brainworks, where we get creative and see if it works. Today, we're going to be working with some leg stockings. Yes, it is a bunch of concentric designs over and over again that goes down the leg as opposed to the arm, obviously. I feel a tone coming on. At least you get to be in this one this time. Like I said, I'll be able to show a little bit of the finer points on Marie, but the rest is actually going to be on me. Ha! But before we get into that, we must first talk about safe, sane, and consensual safety. Be sure to have some safety shears with you at all times. You can always get a new rope. Can't get a new life. And consensual. Me, Marie, and Crochet Rory are all consenting adults. Communication is key. Now, before we take a deep dive into this wonderful rope stocking tutorial, we must first thank my sponsor, KnotHead Nylon.
KnotHead Nylon is the destination for all your premium nylon rope bondage needs. Easy to clean, water resistant, up to 1,100 pounds of weight load, and in a wide array of beautiful, vibrant colors, KnotHead Nylon will slake your rope desires. At checkout, put in discount code RORY10 for 10% off.
Now, there is no real set rope amount for this one. It's as much as you want to put on yourself or have room for. You can do it down the entirety of your leg, going from hip to toes, and both legs if you got the rope for it. Or you can just use it as the one rope, a small hip to garter top of stocking sort of thing. Or if you got two ropes, you can probably get down a little bit past the knee, but you can go all the way down. I know I use 3 ropes to do one leg. But it's open to you. It's a very simple concept and simple design, which is obviously what I want to try and do on this channel a lot. I wanted to open the door for everyone and bring them all in. Sometimes it's difficult to find the right entry point. And I'm not saying that I'm the correct entry point to everyone, but there has to be more entry points in order to get into the BDSM or rope bondage scene in general. It can be an intimidating place, and I'm here to make it more invitable, which is why I try and create a few ties that are easier to do. So it seems like less of a struggle for some people to get into it, and they do it, they complete it, and they realize I can do this, and then they search out more, they gain more confidence, they're like, yes, I can do this, I can be a part of this community. I just want you to be a part of the community. Let's get down to it. The first thing we're going to do is create an anchor on the body. That way, when we have this tie pulling down, it's not going to go anywhere, which is why we're going to rest it up here on the waist, just above the hips. That way, no matter how much pressure we're putting down into it, it's not going to go anywhere. You need some kind of anchor. So I'm going to take the bite of my rope, we're going to wrap it around the waist of Marie here. And once through, just like a girth hitch, we're going to pull the tails through the bite. Make sure our rope is straight. At that point in time, you tie down until it's comfortably tight. And then very simply, when we have the tightness we want, we're going to just go underneath it to create a loop right there. And then we're going to take this rope and go through the loop. Now you might want to keep another hand push down on this area right here to make sure that you don't lose any tightness, because once we come through here and tighten that down, that is then going to be locked in place. Marie, may I pull down on you? Wonderful. At this point, we're locked in place. The hips are creating that anchor for us. And then much like a garter belt, attaching down to the stockings, we're going to begin doing the tie. Now I'm showing you putting this design on the front of Marie's quad. Generally, I like to keep it on the side. It makes it easier, especially if you're going to do a full length going down towards the ankle. You want to keep the bulk of the tie that we'll be placing the design away from the knee itself. So having it down to the side kind of avoids that altogether. But what I like to do initially is I like to go up in towards the crotch, go in, cradling the base of the glutes from behind, getting just below the booty. We're gonna wrap around once more, making sure that our ropes remain straight. I'm gonna pull on this one just a little bit to reduce some of the tension that we got going on. So from here, what I'm going to do is gonna take the tails, go underneath here, and pull over.
So once you pull over and come down, you can create a bit of tightness by pulling down. Marie, how does that feel? Good. You always want it to be in that area, because once we've gone around and done the design, it's going to be locked in place. And once it's locked in place, it makes it difficult to unlock it without having to undo a little bit to loosen it up. And it's okay to have some tightness, yes. Specifically in this area, you want to watch out where the tightness is, which is why I like to put this closer to the side. But for the case of showing it to you guys, I'm going to keep it in the middle, because the inner thighs can be very sensitive. Especially when you come about 3 inches down from the crotch in the inner thigh area, that's where you're going to start running into a lot of major players and blood flow. So when you create tightness, you don't want something overly tight, specifically for this where we're going to have a lot of these going down. Because the more you have going down, the more it's going to impact circulation, which becomes a dangerous thing. I want you to pay a lot of attention to how tight you're doing this and how comfortable you are. All right, moving beyond those cautions, let's continue on. So once we go over and across, we're then going to swing back around. So as you can see right here, when we came back around for the second time, it went under. It kind of gives us this awkward thing, but that's actually a part of the design, because we're going to go in between this area right here where it intersects. So seeing how I just went over right here, we're going to turn around and go under this one, because it's currently depressed by this one. What do we do to our depressed friends? We uplift them by getting underneath them. And then naturally, as we spiral around, it's going to go over this one, underneath this part right here, as we just work our way around. And same thing, since we just went under, we're going to go over and under in this one right here. What goes over must go under, so saith the Rory. Wonderful. Once we got that design, we can tighten that down a little bit. And that's basically it. We make sure that these are straight, feeling happy. And then we're going to go down and do that again. So we came down, went around, created a spiral design, locked it in place. We're going to go around again. So since we did the spiral, the rope now has a particular tension that it wants to go a certain way. It wants to go this way again. So you know what? We're not going to fight that. We're going to go that way again. So we've gone around once, and this is our twice. So just like the last one, but opposite, we're going to come up this way and pull down. Coming up, pulling down. Forgive my lack of crochet fingers. Marie's skin is hard plastic. It makes it difficult sometimes. As well you shouldn't. You are who you are and be proud of it. So we have this intersection right here, which is where we're going to create the beginning of the spiral. So we came up this way and down. Let's follow it back. Since we went over, we're going to go under. Under and over and under and over. So under, over, under, which means we're going to go over and then under. Tighten that down, make sure it's nice, make sure these are straight and wonderful. Good. And that's essentially the design we got going on here. Now you can notice that we have this area that kind of goes at a bit of an angle. I like the angle. You can put it right there and straighten it down, but then it'll start to go in a diagonal oblique pattern down. But if you keep that angle here, that goes down to the next one, because we have the form of the spiral which wants to do the next wraparound this way, which means we're going to zigzag pattern back and forth. When that happens, these will stay symmetrical with each other. They'll be going down in a line while they have a nifty little zigzag pattern going down. I'll show you when we have the full thing on myself a little bit later. That's the essential pattern that we're doing right now. You just complete those steps over and over again until you have the desired outcome. I'm going to show you a few things that you're probably going to run into, like putting on a new rope, where to do that, and how to finish it off. Before I get into the next point I want to make, which is attaching another rope to your already existing tie, I want to address why we do it the amount of times around that we want to. I did an extra amount around. As you can see, I got 1, 2, and 3 instead of just the 2 here. As you can see, it looks just a little bit bulky and messy. Too much can be a bad thing sometimes, and it mucks up the works. It doesn't look quite as nice, quite as grand. And at that point, you probably do a different design right here in order to make it work. But we can get at that another time, or if you want to do homework work and try to make that happen, by all means. Now, when you have 3 layers on each other, you want to make sure that you take a little bit extra time, a little bit extra precaution to make sure that it's not overly tight, because there's a lot of surface area that you're taking over.
And if one area is too tight with a lot of surface area, it's going to cut off circulation faster. The same thing goes with only just doing the one. If you're thinking you don't have enough rope and want to conserve rope by doing just the one, you want to make sure that you're extra sure about tightness, and because there's less surface tension right now, it cuts in a little bit deeper. And it'll only present itself over a long period of time that the circulation is starting to become impacted. And at this point in time, it's less of the spiral design, more of a ladder going down, which is an entirely different thing. But I have only a little bit of rope left, and it's not really enough to go the full way around. I lose it about right there. So how do I add another rope to this without losing some of the integrity of the tie? Well, the main thing you can do is the ends of your rope, do an overhand knot, make sure it hangs out at the very ends of the rope there. That way you can attach a rope right here with a girth hitch and continue on your merry way. However, when we go around, sometimes this knot will be in the front or in the back. Thankfully, in this instance, actually it'll probably be in the side, so no, we want to do something different. We want to find where it is in the back right now. So it's in the back right here. I'm going to grab that part, and now I'm going to do the overhand knot right here. I'm going to undo the previous one, wrap over myself, create a loop, go through that loop. Wonderful. That way when I go around, that knot is in the back, away from the aesthetic front view. So all I have to do now is take the bite of my next rope, wrap it around this area, as you can see, and like a girth hitch again, we're going to go through that little bite, and we'll tighten it down, and there we go. It is attached, so that when we do go around, right now, the knot is in the back. We just take the next rope and begin the process over again. You will have some dangling tails, and I'll show you what happens with those when I show you the full thing on myself later. Now let me show you what happens when you get to the end. As you can see, I got just a little bit of rope left, and I'm able to create this design one last time. As you can see, I created the spiral process, but once I went behind this one, that's where the similarities end to the other ones. Because I'm not going to weave through these areas right here and continue on. What I am going to do is to loosen that a little bit and take the loop here, go in from behind it, and through, and then tighten that down. That'll be our end, our lock. Now these will likely just dangle there, unless you can get them around to the back. What I like to do most of the time, if I have it, is create a little bow if I can. Get back in there. We need to create the bow. It looks odd sometimes, but you know, sometimes it finishes it up in a tight, neat little package. If you don't have enough to do another one of these, then you might have to stop it in the previous one and then take the tails and wrap it around the back for storage in order to make it look nice. But normally the ropes provide and give you enough to at least get one more in there with a little bit of tail hanging. But especially if you go down the entire leg, then these are just down by the ankle and no one really notices it. They look at the grandeur of the entire thing going down the leg. Do you want to see that? I'll show you on myself. And there we have it. As you can see, I went down all the way towards the ankle, and I even got a little bit of a bow at the bottom. Something else also important to note is the distance we have right here in order to give the knee its proper breadth, especially the back of the knee. We don't want to put ropes on the back of the knee itself. That is a cluster of not only veins, arteries, but nerves, as well as lymphatics. The less we disrupt the flow here, the better. And as you may be able to see, some of these knots right here and right here are where I had the two other ropes added on. And what I like to do is just have them go down, and I'll just wrap around them. That way they're kind of put into place. And it doesn't really take away too much from the aesthetics of what's happening here. And it's actually quite comfortable. I can get to about right here before I start getting a little too much tightness, but it is movable. I can walk around in it very easily. I'm not going to be able to do an obstacle course of, but it's definitely very comfortable. If you're to be out and about, you actually could probably use this in some kind of fashionable context. I'm not saying go to the opera in it, but I'm sure there's somewhere you can wear this out to. It'll probably draw a little bit of attention, but it's got a nice hug to it. It feels great on my body. And I hope it feels good on your body too. Well, hey, I hope you had as much fun learning from that tutorial as we did at teaching it to you. I think I can hear her playing Elden Ring and dying out in the distance. I hope she's not playing on my save file. I'd be quite perturbed. Speaking of which, if you're so inclined, you can follow my gaming YouTube right over here. Just search Rory's Gameworks down in that YouTube search bar. I would greatly appreciate it. Speaking of which, I'd be remiss if I did not bring on my other lovely sponsors for today, the wonderful people over at Patreon. That's patreon.com/Rory's Brainworks, just like this YouTube channel. They are my rope and video game vanguard, my colonizers of dreams. And without them, all the ropey and video game endeavors that I do would be way harder to accomplish. Thank you for spending your time with me. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this madness, and comment down below what you thought of the tutorial and what you would like us to teach you in the future. As always, I'm Rory. This is our brain. I'm fairly certain it works. Be safe and go create some art.